I think we're live.
I think we are.
We did it. Yay. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing? See you guys down there. Hello. I have a monitor down there that's showing me the chat. So we're here with Dan Tudge, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Sword Coast Legends, a little bit about the community, and a little bit about some of the big questions you guys have been asking for several months. So how you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good. I feel brave here because I have the orb of secrets with me.
I know. Do we dare tell the story behind that we just kind of found that in this room a couple minutes ago?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. But I think it's gonna help with some of the secrets.
I know, definitely help with the secrets. Before we get started with the Q&A, first of all you guys in here, there's a bunch of you in here. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us. We'll do our best to answer as many of your questions as we can. But big thing first is social media plugs. Most of you guys in here follow us on everything, but very quickly, we have a Twitter account, and that is at SwordCoast on Twitter. We have a Facebook account, and that is /SwordCoast on Facebook. And of course, if you're in Twitch right now, you know that our Twitch account is Sword Coast Legends on Twitch. And hopefully you guys are going to the forums on a regular basis and hanging out and talking to people there, because there's a whole lot going on in the forums. There's a lot of questions, and we're going to answer some of them today. Big things this week that happened. The Design Council vote went up for the Belafast statue. So some of you guys that are in the Design Council, you might want to make your way over to the forums and actually cast your vote for the Belafast statue pose. That's not going to be up forever, so you might want to get in there pretty quickly and cast your vote. Also, introduce yourselves to other members of the Design Council. There's a lot of really fun, interesting people in there that have all said hey to each other, and they're kind of creating their own little sub-community inside the forum. So definitely check that out if you're a member of the Design Council. What else? Oh, our news tab went live, which is exciting for me because I'm a big fan of the characters of the game. So we actually revealed Lydia this week on the main site and also on the forums and pretty much everywhere else. And so if you guys go to swordcoast.com and you check out our news tab, we're going to have new stuff up all the time. But of course, this week we introduced everyone to Lydia, who is a super cool character.
Very, very cool, yes.
Let's introduce you to the audience. You're also a super cool character, sir.
Oh, thank you.
That's a segue. That's a professional segue.
Yeah, there you go. Well done.
So, you can see the little text here. This is Director and President Dan Tudge. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your history? Because I think it's a pretty interesting history.
Sure, you mean going all the way back to my dreams as a child of a...
Let's go back to high school. No, not quite that far back, but let's talk a little bit about who you are and how you kind of came to be part of this game.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I always sort of dreamed of being an artist. That was, other than being a famous hockey player, I quickly realized that wasn't, as a Canadian child, wasn't as going to happen as I thought it was. But I always wanted to be involved in art, and worked in a family business as an electrician, and I think very early on in my late teens, early 20s, I realized that wasn't gonna scratch my creative itch. So discovered that these things called computers were probably the best set of paintbrushes I ever had, and decided, you know what, I'm going to try my hand at computer graphics, and got in at a very early stage when there's no college or any of that, and ended up working in children's software, worked in the budding days of the internet, sort of worked my way through an independent contracting company, and eventually founded my own studio, which I ran for 6 years, did 6 games in 6 years with that studio.
Wow, that's exciting. Really fast.
Yeah, but back then it was exciting, fast times. You could do it like that, and after that came to an end, I ended up going to work for BioWare, and I worked for BioWare for several years. Obviously directed Dragon Age Origins. I directed Sonic Chronicles as well.
Cool.
Stopped by Disney on my way through to here, and where I managed Propaganda Games as general manager and vice president there, and through EA, back to EA, and now I'm back here in a small, sort of very exciting, nimble veteran studio. So
that's really exciting. So you've been in the industry for almost 20 years, or is it 20 years now?
Just about 20 years, yeah.
20 years. And if I remember correctly, you've been playing Dungeons & Dragons since 1979, not to date you.
Oh, no, you mean you did date me? Yeah, absolutely. I started playing in middle school in 1979. Yeah, with my chess club friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing. I've been playing a while, but not quite that long. I have fond memories of sitting around in middle school and just fudging all the rules and playing with my friends and learning all the monsters. And I told this story before, but my first monster manual I got when I was about 7. I traded a pack of Garbage Pail Kids cards for my monster manual, and well, it was a lot of Garbage Pail Kids cards.
That's dating you too.
Yeah, it is. And then I use it as a coloring book. I actually still have it, so I'll show it on the next stream. But I still have my first monster manual. But you're here not only just to hang out, but also to answer a bunch of community questions. So we're going to go through and actually, kind of, it's more of an interrogation. So we're going to ask you as many questions as we can fire off in the time allotted, and we'll see where we go from there.
Sure. I mean, I just want to say as well, too, I mean, we've got a lot of questions, and I really appreciate people's feedback. I mean, there are definitely some hot topics. I mean, I know the inventory question comes to mind.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about as much as we can, but there are some things that that we're not ready to talk about. But we are listening, so please, by all means, keep with your feedback. We love it. We're excited. We look at it all the time, and we want to get this feedback. So keep it coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with a question from the forums, and this one's actually from Andar90. And Andar asks, do we create a core protagonist and then get party members like in the games of yore, Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, or do we create a whole party like in Icewind Dale 1 and 2?
Right. Well, you definitely create your main character. You create the protagonist. It's definitely, and you fully customize that character. But a core pillar right from the start for us has been the companions. And we'll touch on that, I think, some more throughout this. But companions are very important. So you do meet a lot of companions along the way. You choose the ones that you want to have join your party, the ones you want to interact with, the ones that you really want to form up your party. But you do create that first character as your own.
That's exciting. We have another one from Mint Finkeldove from the forums. He says, when you're creating your character, is it point buy or dice roll for character creation?
It's point buy. I'll cut right to that. It's point buy. I mean, balancing RPGs is a huge task. It's obviously, every little bit helps. So one of the important things for us was to look at things that we could sort of lock across the board. And point buy is one of those things. It's small, but it's one of those things knowing that we have a set amount of attribute points that we can attribute to characters will help us, especially keeping that balanced across players across multiplayer. Now, I had a lot of fun with Baldur's Gate and rolling like 1,000 times to get. But I mean, I've never met a DM that would allow you to roll that many times on the tabletop. So I mean, it seems for us the right way to go was point buy. Yeah,
dice roll, it can lead to really broken characters too, and you don't necessarily want that. Point buy, I feel like, leads to a much more playable character in the end. Which
I've rolled up some single roll characters, and I was sweating from my eyeballs. I was so stressed out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. This one we got a lot, and it's a really good question, and I think you guys will like the answer to this one. But the question is, why did the team choose the character classes and races that they did for launch? So why the ones that we've announced already?
Right. Well, as I mentioned, we are a small team, a very veteran team here, but for us, quality is the first most important thing. It's the highest priority for an RPG. Quality is something that's very important to us, and not only us, but the players as well too. So, but with quality comes discipline, discipline and scope. And so we wanted to make sure that we could do the character classes that we did choose, do them the best possible to the best, highest possible quality level we could. So we chose the core classes, basically the most popular classes, the ones that we knew everybody would at least want to touch upon. We definitely plan on delivering more of those down the road, either at launch or post-launch.
Awesome. Well, that's really exciting. I mean, people obviously, when they have a tabletop character, they want to bring it over to Sword Coast Legends. And there have been some people that have been, a little, I'll say, ticked off on the forums that they couldn't bring over their character. But perhaps in the future, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I know I've mentioned it before, but my wife loves to play tieflings, so if I want a happy marriage, we probably will see tieflings.
We all want that, right? This one is an answer. I think when you guys hear the answer, you'll like this one a lot. On the topic of races and classes, are these all we get? Are there going to be sub-races?
Yeah, sub-races is something that's very important. I mean, obviously, if you play depending on the class you pick, it'll determine what type of elf, for example, you want to play. Whether you play a wood elf or a high elf. That's going to be very important. So that's very important. Too much to ignore. So you'll definitely have sub races.
Awesome. So that's actually the first time I think we've ever revealed that. So you guys in the stream, there's a bunch of you now. There you go. You have sub races confirmed. And of course, there's going to be advantages and disadvantages to the different sub races. So different statistical different.
And that's one of the cool things I like about 5th edition is the variety that the sub races bring and the difference.
Yeah.
Lydia's a great example of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't checked out Lydia, please go to our news tab and check her out. I'm enamored with that character. I think she's a great character. So definitely.
You're sweet on her.
I
It's
am.
okay.
I
You can
think
say,
yeah.
a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't tell my wife, but I'm slowly developing a crush on Lydia. I almost tried to convince the marketing guys to get an Lydia standee made for
Right.
the future.
Right by your desk.
Yeah, right by my desk.
Yeah.
No one. Okay.
Well, grab one or two.
All right. So the next one is from Jansus on Facebook, and this was actually a question that deals with alignment. He says, "Will there be alignment in the game, and will it be a crucial part of the experience?" So.
Right, alignment. I mean, I know on the tabletop we've all either played a game where somebody's rolled an evil character, rolled up an evil character, or you've done it yourself. And it usually takes about an hour before somebody wants to punch you or you want to punch somebody in the face. It is a really tough thing to do. In the video game environment, in the CRPG environment, for me, it's really about the choice, and it's about role playing those choices. And you can select lawful evil or chaotic evil for your character, but then make all the righteous or the good choices throughout the campaign. So really, it comes down to those choices, and we're definitely providing you with your good choices, your evil choices, and all kinds of shades of gray in between. And that, for me, role playing your alignment is far more important than choosing it. So.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, the way I look at it is if you were to choose an alignment directly and it limited the choices you could make, you were kind of handcuffing your character. So having the ability of choice, it's a lot more open. The story I told you earlier is the last character I played in D&D was a chaotic evil warlock, and this is tabletop. And I remember sitting there with my DM, and he would present me with these choices, and I couldn't make the chaotic evil choice, like to rescue someone. Why would a chaotic evil warlock ever go on this adventure to rescue the people inside the dungeon in the first place? He just wouldn't care, and it just didn't fit in with the party. So there's a lot of player choice that's important, and I feel like a lot of ways choosing an alignment directly could perhaps limit those choices. That's just my opinion. So.
Right, and I think that those choices that cause you to look inside yourself,
yeah.
as a person and say, what would I do? I know I could benefit from letting that kid float down the stream, but I just, I look at my own kids and go, oh man, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, alignment or no, and I like those choices. I like those choices that make you sort of look back at your own personal values and apply those to your gameplay. That's really exciting for me.
Yeah, and you could still choose to adhere to an evil alignment within the game. It's just your choice.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so the next one is from Wazwat on Twitter. I like that name a lot. And Wazwat asks, how much focus will there be on the RP part compared to combat? So the role-playing part compared to combat. Will there be dialogue trees, character interactions, and romances?
Right. So, well, definitely. We wouldn't fit within the legacy if we didn't have, branching dialogue. Obviously, that's a big piece of that, and you can certainly see that from the videos. But there's a lot of what's really cool about that. And I mentioned we're going to touch a lot on companions. Is that interaction and those party interjections, the choices that you make, and having your companions react to your choices. That will all be in there. So there'll definitely be that level of interaction. And as for romances, creating memorable characters is important, and when we're not talking about romances right now, your relationship with those characters matter.
Yeah.
And so we'll definitely be supporting that.
It's exciting. I know a lot of people really love that aspect of RPGs, and so perhaps they will see it.
Yes,
We'll see. All right, so this one is from Terrorblades, who frequents our forums, and Terrorblades asks, how many custom options for characters will we have? Can we make custom faces, custom body types, or are they all pre-made? So we kind of already answered that a little bit, but maybe you can go a little
right.
bit.
Yeah, it definitely, customization and progression are one of the 4 core pillars of a great RPG. They're the 4 pillars that Bethesda and BioWare and certainly ourselves all adhere to when it comes to creating good quality RPGs. And so we want to make sure that you can fully customize your character, not just throughout your campaign, through the gear and equipment you'll buy, but also through your character creation. So you'll be able to create, your male character, your female character, obviously race, class, all of those things, but also their physical appearance as well too. We're not going into the details right now of how that is, but rest assured it is fully customizable.
That's exciting. This is another name that I love. Merlin Paladin from the
Nice.
forums. I know says, "What's up?" Okay, this is the hot topic question. I put a star next to this one, so beware. Beware
here
of
we
the
go,
star.
here we go.
Beware of the star questions.
Channeling the orb of secrets.
This is the one dodging the tomato question. What's up with the characters' hit points in the videos that we've shown so far, and basically why are they as high as they are?
Right. Yes, that is a hot topic.
It
for
is a
sure.
hot topic
That is
question.
a hot topic. I mean, I think a little bit of a misconception right now is that people the game really looks quite finished to a lot of people, and I think they think we're farther along than we are when it comes to things like balancing, but we're not. I mean, obviously there's a lot of balancing that we're in place, and RPGs are there's a ton of levers that you have to like perfectly coordinate to get that symphony that is the perfect balance. And that's very hard to do, and it's going to take a lot of iteration. We've been iterating on a lot already, but it's going to continue to grow. And while 5th edition has been very good for adapting to a CRPG environment, not everything's translated over perfectly. And so there are things that do need to be adjusted and adapted. Hit points may or may not be one of those things. We're still going through the balance, but there's things like round timers. I think we have a question later regarding cooldowns and things like that. There's a lot of pieces in motion that go into balancing that.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna expect to see, and all the things that people have seen in that video, they're already changed.
Yeah,
all of that stuff's
absolutely.
already changed in the build that I was playing last night and today. That they're already changed.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I talked about with Ross last week on the stream was the fact that new builds are constantly being made, like every single day.
Yeah, one an hour.
Yeah, so it's the game is constantly changing, and on top of that, one of the things I talked about with you earlier before we started this is, the game is in pre-alpha. We're showing very early footage, and like you said, it may look much more done than it really is, but you're seeing a very early version of this game, and everything is changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some very vocal people on the forums that are saying they don't like one thing or they really like another thing, but the reality of the situation is everything's constantly changing. So
yeah, it's definitely. I mean. And when we say it's a lot less done than people think, and that a lot of that is the polish, and that comes back to that quality moment. I mean, you can play through the entire game from beginning to end. This the campaign. You can play, and it's a big campaign, by the way, people. It's a very big campaign. You can play all the way through the campaign, and I played through it myself, several times. And but every time we're iterating more and more and polishing on that. And I mean, we're taking our time and making sure that we polish and balance this is to the highest possible quality we can get.
Yeah, that's a great answer. This one is from Kraith on the forums, and Kraith asks, in Community Update 1, you said you could pause in single player. Will there be a possibility to pause in multiplayer?
Now, we first rolled this out with the ability to pause in any version, whether you're a DM, single player, multiplayer, and playing with my son, he went crazy with the pause button and just drove me batshit crazy. I mean, obviously, in a multiplayer environment, the ability to pause can be frustrating for people. They want to get up and go to the fridge for a snack and pause the game. So right now, you can only pause in single player with a DM, and the player themselves can pause, but not the DM. But we have discussed at length the idea of allowing everybody to pause. We've discussed at length the idea of letting the DMs pause, and multiplayer pausing. And we've also discussed using a resource against that. So, for example, maybe while pause, the DM generates more threat, or if the DM pauses, he loses threat. To really maybe there's a timer. There's all kinds of things we can do, and we'd really love to hear people's feedback on that. Yeah. And of course, obviously, it can be a setting that we have too. If you want to play a game and say, "Hey, listen, you know what? I don't want to pause. I don't want any pausing going on," or I do. I'm playing with my benevolent, very patient DM, and he's going to allow pause. So, but we'd love to hear people's feedback on that.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough the fact that we are actually listening to you guys. I'm on there every single day, and these guys are on there every single day too. We're reading everything, and we are doing our best to listen to your gripes and your concerns, and also your questions. But also on that pausing, I mean, in relation to pausing, you want people to be able to play with strangers as well. That's something that's important, and as it stands, it could be a bad thing to have someone who's pause happy in your party that you don't know. It could ruin the experience. So
absolutely. I mean, at a minimum, I think it would be, if we allowed pausing in multiplayer, it would have to be a setting that the DM or the game creator would be able to turn off.
Yeah.
Because you could have a jackass in there just pausing the shit out of the game for sure.
And that would ruin the fun, and that's the last thing I think we want, is for fun to be ruined. Okay, so you just mentioned threat. We have a bunch of questions about threat. I just kind of all lumped them into one big question about threat. And it's what can you tell us about threat and why was it implemented in the first place?
Well, very early on, we realized that, having played a ton of, well, now you've outed me from '79 onwards, having played a lot of D&D, that it is a collaborative experience. It is a cooperative experience. It's about, a good DM's about providing a challenge for the players. It's about creating a memorable experience for them. And when we sort of started translating that over into a video game, we found that the sort of instinctual tendency in a video game is to get a little bit of adversarial, like I'm gonna pwn your ass, kind of thing. So we had to look for ways to encourage that collaborative, that providing a challenge, that experience that was true to the tabletop. And not that we're disallowing adversarial play. You can certainly play that way if that's the way you want. But we really wanted to encourage it to be cooperative play and provide a challenge. So we implemented a resource to sort of encourage that behavior. Now, threat is something that I know in the video we showed it. We showed it sort of continually generating. That's not actually the case. It doesn't continually generate. It is something that is provided or earned through providing a challenge for the players. So if they're taking damage, if they're solving puzzles, picking locks, disarming traps, killing monsters, taking damage, the DM's going to earn more threat to encourage that gameplay, and spend more threat on it. But if he starts killing off all the players, they're going to lose. They're going to lose their threat. Matter of fact, I killed the whole party. They end up with no threat. So we really sort of encourage that behavior. And then also there's threat limits per room as well too. So I can't say, well, you know what, I'm going to use all my threat to create a gauntlet of death right by the exit and like, haha, Ash, try to get through this. So you will hit a maximum threat in an area as well too to really, and there's a lot more that we're doing under the hood to really sort of balance that play and keep things fun for both sides.
Yeah, it's something that you and I kind of briefly talked about as well. The fact that there is a certain amount of balance when a dungeon master is, a tabletop dungeon master is creating encounters for his players. You have to take into account the players' levels, their classes, what gear they have,
how many are in the party,
yeah. Right? And then you create encounters based on that. In a lot of ways, the way the threat system currently operates is it makes that sort of tweaking possible in real time. So,
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very much so. With promoting and demoting, you can balance. But there's also a lot of systems under the hood as well too that actually balance for a 2-player party or a 4-player party, and so that's and adjust the encounters appropriately. But yeah, you as a DM, you might have players of varying levels of skill as well too that you need to help as a DM. You need to, just like on the tabletop, you need to adjust for. So you've got real-time tools in order to do that.
Awesome. Here's a popular question, and I think the people down there in the audience, hey everybody, I think you guys are going to like this one. How is dungeon crawl different from campaign creation?
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Everybody wants the answer to that. I mean, having played a lot of tabletop, I mean, one of the things that's, as a DM, one of the things that is universal is a time investment. So whether you're playing a homebrew campaign or whether you're playing through a module, it still involves. You're going to play it Friday night on 7 o'clock for your weekly D&D game. The DM's going to have to prep. He's going to either be writing some backstory, pre-rolling characters if he's doing a homebrew campaign, reading through the modules, memorizing names, highlighting stuff. There's still this huge investment just to get to the point where you can play as a DM. Now that's fun. I mean, I love doing a lot of that stuff. But we wanted to provide an opportunity for people to get right in. They meet at 7 o'clock. At 5 minutes after 7, they're playing the type of dungeon they want to play, and they're playing as a DM. And that's, I look at their players and say, hey, do you guys want to play? Do you want to play a sneaky dungeon? You want to move around here, and you want to stealth kill people and solve puzzles and disarm traps and pick doors and find secret areas? Or do you want a gauntlet of death where you just murder your way through hordes of goblins? And the DM can set that all up. Do you want a 20-minute experience? You want a 2-hour? You want a 4-hour experience? Do you want to go from caves all the way down into the Underdark and face all the varying enemies all the way through? You can do that, and you can set that up in literally 5 or 10 minutes. And we wanted to provide that opportunity. But we also want to provide people the opportunity to invest a huge amount of time in creating a custom campaign that could go on for weeks, months, years if they want. And so that's really where campaign creation comes in. is sort of is serving that. And again, we're not rolling out details.
Yeah.
Closer to E3, we'll get a lot more details around that.
All right. Would it be fair to say that I could, as someone who's DM'd in the past, I could take one of my old tabletop campaigns that I created and move it over into SCL?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty
As
cool.
a matter of fact, that's the mandate that the designers and the engineers on the campaign creation team. That's the mandate they have is recreate your favorite module using the campaign creation set.
That's exciting because there are so many that I never got to finish. It's really hard to finish them. And, you know, as someone who used to tabletop DM a lot, you're absolutely right about the setup time. I can't tell you how many times I would spend 5 or 6 hours, you know, during the week, drawing my own dungeons, you know, creating NPCs, coming up with dumb voices for them, rolling up all the monsters, and then all of a sudden, you know, your players show up and they don't get on the boat that you wanted them to get on, and then everything is shot. So
yeah.
So it's you know,
I still have the modules I made as a child that my mother typed up. Yes, before we had computers to print out these things.
That's awesome.
She would type them all up for me, and yeah.
We should
burn the edges of the map.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I burned all the edges of the map.
That's so
me,
cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this one has a star next to it because it's one of those another hot topic question.
Another channel.
Yeah, this is another star question. Can you tell us a little bit about the choice to use cooldowns in combat as opposed to something else?
Right. Yeah. That. Yeah. You're definitely right. That is a hot topic. Here's the thing: in a multiplayer game where you're playing with other people, you know, some poor caster saying, "Hey, listen, I need to rest. I need to rest. I'm out of fireball. You know, I need to rest. I need to, you guys. Do you mind taking a? I know we're in the middle of the dungeon. Do you mind taking a 4-hour nap here because I got to rest or whatever. I mean, I know it's core to the tabletop and it's something that works in the tabletop. But when you start doing it in a video game, you know, especially with multiplayer people and in playing with other people, strangers, it's awkward and it doesn't really work well. And I think in a single player game, you know, taking a 4-hour nap down the hall from a whole bunch of hobgoblins and never getting discovered so you can fireball them 4 hours later also seems a bit out of place. And so really the spirit of what you're doing there isn't necessarily the resting. The spirit is using your spells as a resource and timing out those spells as a resource and you know, being careful. I mean, when you rest on the tabletop, you're like, Are guys, we have a chance to rest soon because I think I could use my fireball now. I think I could use my you know, maybe I'll just keep firing cantrips and save this. That sort of tactical resource usage is really what's important, is really what it's about. So cooldowns were something that we came up with that really sort of was a great compromise for that. And so the cooldown system that we're implementing and balancing really reflects that resource management for your spells without having to take a nap outside the hobgoblin hold.
Yeah, I mean, it could be really challenging because the big thing about this game is being able to play with other people, some of those people being strangers. So having some sort of resting implemented could really kind of detract from the experience. I think that's one of the things.
Yeah, especially if you're playing with a group of fighters and you're the only caster and you're like, guys, I know I just met you online, but could we have a nap here? I mean, I'm sure there's people that would be like, well, no, that's okay. That's the way it works. But you know. We believe that for the most part it's about resource managing those spells.
Excellent. All right. So this next one, since you just did a voice, I'll ask this question. This one is from Robot Gobot on Twitter, and we kind of already addressed this online. I think a lot of people know this, but let's talk a little bit more about it. Can you tell us a little bit more about VO in the game and how much there's going to be?
VO in the game, yes. Right now, I can tell you right now, just to be clear, all the VO that is in the game is placeholder. And as a matter of fact, it was done by our audio director, Tony Porter, who's the man of 1,000 voices. Unfortunately, he's a man of no female voices, because every voice he does that's a female ends up sounding like Mrs. Doubtfire. So, interestingly enough, the female voices that you're hearing in the video are actually computer generated. They're text-to-speech voices, which I'm surprised nobody's picked up on.
I don't think anyone noticed that.
Those are actually not a human being speaking those voices, so to speak. But I can tell you that we're professionally VOing the entire critical path. So you will, and we are professionally VOing those with a wide range of very authentic accents. You know, Tony is is not Scottish. I mean, he's also not a prepubescent necromancer either. So, but he does do a great job on putting placeholder voices in for us. But rest assured, the entire critical path will be full VO, and that's really important for companions as well too, is to give them a memorable voice, and a voice that in Lydia's case, you fall in love with.
I know, can't wait.
And you know, and in Larethar's, you know, you chum up with, also fall in love with.
Got to have that buddy.
Yeah,
that buddy. Well, good. I'm a big VO nerd, so I can't wait to meet these characters and get to know them once we get their voices in there, which is gonna be really cool. We got some questions about WASD movement. So the question from a variety of different people was, will the game have WASD movement for those that want it?
Yeah, I mean, I you know, it's not in there right now, but it's certainly something that you know, if that's something gamers want, the players want, we could certainly look at doing that. So give us your feedback. If that's something you want, we'll look at doing that.
If you guys want WASD, let us know on the forums or on Twitter or whatever, and maybe something they'll stick in there. Who knows? Next one is from MD Gar on Twitter. He says, will there be a combat log available? I didn't see one on the video.
Well, yeah, combat log is something obviously we have. We spew out that debug. I mean, obviously to balance that, I mean, a combat log without a combat log, we wouldn't be able to balance the game. So we do have that. It's just a matter of, you know, do we present that to the user? And if we do, how do we present that to the user? So again, if that's something you guys are interested in seeing and something that you guys would like to have as a setting that you can turn on and watch, then let us know and we'll look into it.
Yeah, awesome. Here's a fun one. This one's from Cutter on the forums. And Cutter asks, I'm surprised that most people have not asked the most important question yet. Are there gelatinous cubes in the game?
Yes. Gelatinous cubes.
I know.
We have this
problem before. Gelatinous. Guys, let us know. Is it gelatin? It's gelatinous. It's totally gelatinous. Yeah. I'm like, I was telling
It's okay. I want you to keep saying it that way, though.
Gelatinous. I just have to give it a little pizzazz. So they are in the game.
They are. Gelatinous cubes are in the game, and they're ready to pick your bones clean. Yeah. You know, I was thinking about gelatinous cubes, and I'm like, are they he's or she's, or are they asexual, or what? I'm not sure. Yeah. I never really got that in the description, and maybe it is in there. I didn't think about it, but yeah, we definitely have gelatinous cubes, and our art director says that they may very well be in a screenshot soon.
Oh, awesome! I did not know that. Yeah. I'll tell my gelatinous cube or gelatinous cube story. There was a bug a little while back when I was playing through the game, and they were invisible for a little bit. And I ran into this room, and my characters started dissolving and running around screaming. And it turns out there was just a giant invisible gelatinous cube. And
that's awesome.
So yeah, so they are in the game for sure. I can confirm that. And
one of my favorite gelatinous cube moments are with Larethar, when you're fighting with Larethar, and if you get sucked into the gelatinous cube, by the time the combat encounter is over and he comes out of it, he turns around and says, "Hey, has anybody seen my wallet?"
I love that. He's a great character. You might be seeing more of him very soon, guys. All right. So this one's a fun question. It says, what are some of your favorite features of SCL currently?
All the stuff I can't talk about. I mean, seriously though, I mean, I really like what we're doing with campaign creation. I think once we start rolling that out to people, I think they're going to be very excited. There's a lot of really cool, as you know, as a DM and as a player as well too. Like just what we're doing there, and that's just really exciting. But that aside, I think hands down, my most and favorite part is the companions. Now, I mean, all the great RPGs I've played over the years or been a part of, even, you know, you think of Baldur's Gate, you know, with Minsk and Jaheira, even Imoen, and of course with Dragon Age Origins, Alistair and Morrigan and Zevran. They all kind of became great friends of mine. Yeah. I mean, it sounds. I don't want to sound corny, but you know, I think back of them in that respect, and because they were very meaningful, they were very impactful. They created some very memorable moments for me, and I think right from the get-go, we've made sure that that's part of our vision to do that. I mean, when it comes down to the voices, the character design, the writing, all of it, that's very important for us. So, and the way that's coming through in the game right now. I think we're really hitting that mark, and I'm really proud of that piece. And it's something that we've worked together very hard to make sure we have happen, and I think we're going to really nail that. And that's for me is the most exciting bit.
Yeah, as someone who's played more video games than I care to admit, these characters are awesome, guys. You're going to absolutely love them, and I'm going to steal Dan's answer. And I can't wait for you guys to meet all of them, and they have really amazing histories and stories, and they're very different from, I think, what you're used to seeing in RPGs. So it's exciting. It's exciting. And like you said, I think every great story has to have great characters, whether it's in a game or in a novel or what have you.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah,
you know,
sure.
these characters are pretty awesome, and so I think they're going to stand out. So.
Yep.
Well, cool. We're out of time. We actually went over, so we did it. Mission accomplished.
Way to go, Orb of Truth.
The Orb of Truth guided us along the way. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our community update 2. Obviously, we're going to be doing more of these as we continue to make the game, and I'll let you guys know when the next Twitch stream is coming up. It's probably coming up pretty soon. Don't know what next one's about quite yet, but we'll figure it out. As always, you guys can find us on Twitter, and that's at Sword Coast on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook, and that is /Sword Coast on Facebook. Go to swordcoast.com. Stay here at Sword Coast Legends on Twitch, and we're basically everywhere. Just go into Google, type Sword Coast, and we will pop up. And there's all sorts of new stuff coming out on the news tab on the main site, pretty much weekly from now on. At least that's what we're going to try and do. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was awesome for you guys to take time out of your day. There's hundreds and hundreds of you in here, and hopefully you guys got some information. I know we revealed stuff that we hadn't revealed anywhere else yet. So you guys got some secrets. All right. All right, we'll be back later. I got to go reach over the thing and turn things off.
Thank you, everyone.
Later, guys.